Alright, what's up? So I figure I'd do a little demo here just to let you see. This is a Behringer Xenyx 2442 FX mixer. It's pretty sick. In terms of these Behringer Xenyx mixers, this is, I suppose, like the biggest one. I think if you were to compare it to anything, it would be something like a Mackie 1604, but that's like about $900, and this one's just over 300. So what the fuck, you know? Gotta do what you gotta do. So just a couple things to go over. It says it's a 24-channel mixer, which technically it is, but these first 8 here are mono channels, 1 through 8, and then 9 through 16 are actually presented as like 4 stereo channels. And then, so that's 16, but the reason they call it a 24 channel mixer is because there's 4 stereo auxiliary returns that are independent of this shit down here. So altogether you can have 24 channels playing all at the same time. Each channel's got it's a high and then a mid, and then the mid is sweepable. With this one you can go up or down with the frequency, so that's why this is semi-parametric. High and low, and then you have send 1, send 2, send 3, and send 4. Send 3 is sort of hardwired to this little effects unit up over here in the corner. I mean, you don't have to do it that way. If you stick a wire in the send 3 in the back, it unhardwires itself, and it actually behaves just like a regular old auxiliary send. But some of the shit that I just want to show you is like these are your subgroup outputs here, or like buses, what you might hear somebody call a 4-bus mixer or an 8-bus mixer or whatever. And this is the kind of shit that makes this like a better mixer than what you would get with some of the smaller ones, because you don't really get that kind of like output routing options with the smaller mixers. So let me just show you real quick here. Like the way I won't get into the way I have mine set up, but I just use a mono output from my micro Korg on channel 8. And then 15 and 16 is where my turntable, my DJ mixer comes from. And 11, 12 is the stereo output from the MPC, but then I also use 5 as a mono output for drums from the MPC. So I actually use 3 individual mono outputs, but like 1 stereo and 1 mono. So let me just go ahead and toss a record on here real quick. Let me good old Idris, huh? Anybody like Paul's Boutique? Let's get this bad boy going here. So you can see I kind of got the volume turned down here. This is, like I said, 15, 16, so you can mute it to cut the drum or to cut the record. But now what you got here is these. If I can get in on this thing here, let me see. I don't know how well I can zoom on this shit. Well, anyways, this one, this button right here. Let me mute this for a second. This button right here. If you click that one down, it sends this stereo signal to these two. These are mono, you know, like left and right. So this is kind of like another spot that this mixer can send some signal out of it. So like say you had the output on the back of your mixer, you know, like this 1 and 2 sub outputs. Say you had those going to your left and right input on your MPC. Well, anything that you have along here, no matter whether it's your micro Korg or your, you know, records or whatever else you might have, if you want to sample it to the MPC, all you do is hit that button and boom, whatever signal's on that is now going out those outputs that are wired to your MPC. So I do that. I have these two going to my MPC, and then these two here are just going to a stereo jack on my audio interface on my computer. So if if I'm listening to this and I want to sample it to my computer, I just hit the 3 and 4 button, and now it's going out 3 and 4. So now it's automatically going out to my computer. And you can really hit both of them if you want to and send it to both your computer and your MPC at the same time, if you would ever want to do that for whatever reason. So that's kind of a cool thing with like these stereo tracks here, and really with any of these tracks. I mean, they all have the ability to be sent to these 4 buses. But really the thing that sets this mixer apart from any of the smaller Xenyx mixers is that these mono channels 1 through 8 actually have post EQ direct outputs on them, which means that you can send your signal through this thing, you can affect it with the EQ however you want, and you can level it however you want, and this individual signal is sent right back out this mixer. So if you have some kind of multi-input sound card that you want to multi-track through, say you had your sub outputs 1 through 4 coming from your MPC going to 1 through 4 here, and then maybe the left to right on this one. Well, you send this left to right through your 3 and 4, and then these 1 through 4 out their direct outputs out the back of this thing. And if you have an interface that can take up to 6 mono inputs, you can record all 6 of them at the same time, rather than having to, only mute everything else except for that one track and record everything out the stereo output, and then go back and mute this one and unmute this one, and you'll record it the whole way out like that. That's really, again, like I said, if you look at some of those Mackies, like the 1202 and the 1402 and the 1642, they're a little bit cheaper, but they don't have the direct outputs. And then when you look at the 1604, that's like $300 more than any of those other Mackie mixers, and that's exactly why, because that's kind of a big time feature. And I mean, to have this kind of thing and that kind of thing together for fucking $329, I mean, you can't really go wrong. I mean, that's why I got it, and I've had it for about 3.5 years. Still works fine. I mean, I know everybody likes to say Behringer stuff is kind of crappy, but I've never had any problem with this thing. So I would get into like how I have my whole setup laid out, but that's a whole different video. I just kind of wanted to go over some of that routing stuff with you there. And then again, like with these auxiliary sends, these are each mono outputs there. So like say if you have the input for your micro Korg, you could put that up on send 1. So there's a a 1/4 inch jack on the back of this mixer that represents the output for send 1. So maybe you want to take some sound coming from your MPC and push it out that send 1 and send it to the input on your micro Korg. That's all you got to do is find your channel on here, turn up send 1, and boom, it's automatically going to the input on your micro Korg. So that's just the kind of thing I got going on there. Again, it's a little bit more dough than some of those smaller ones, but I really think it's worth it. So I hope that helps, and peace.